Hello, everyone, and welcome to Worlds Apart, Words Together, where best friends share laughter, stories, and an unbreakable bond. And we are back.
Our, we took a little break last week to chat to our guest heading into the Olympics, and now we're
Yeah,
back with more ways to transform your thoughts.
exactly. And this topic that we're going to discuss today ties in well with the podcast we did before the one we did with Niels, where we were speaking about overcoming limiting beliefs. And this one ties in very nicely with that one because this one is not really overcoming limiting beliefs, but more so how to use the way you think to get successful or do something in your life that you've always wanted to achieve, I
Yeah,
guess.
just unlocking your potential.
Yeah, because everybody has a lot of potential in them. And this makes me think of something that just we talked about with my family over Easter. How was your Easter, by the way? Was it all right?
It was fine.
It was fine. That's all we gotta say. But we were talking about how, being good in certain math, certain chemistry, physics, like those types of topics are considered to be the smart people. It's like, oh, you're good in math, you must be smart. But whereas people who are good in arts or super creative are typically not referred to as that, where it's like, well, they have talents in different aspects of their lives. Doesn't mean they're not as smart or intelligent. And so everybody, what my point is with this is that everybody has potential and everybody has potential in their own way and it's all special. So that's what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something. I think potential is different in a way of deeming like intelligence, because you can in theory have like no education, no experience, but you still have potential. There's potential to just be a better version of you, which is completely unrelated to academics or
Totally.
intelligence. Potential is, in my like personal, I guess, definition, you can say, it's like potential is just the um growth that is within you. It's the best version of yourself, whether that includes academics or motherhood or friend or relationship or whatever dynamic that's in your life. It's just the potential to be the best version of you in those environments.
I like that a
So,
lot.
so I think um, overcoming limiting beliefs is kind of like a stepping stone in unlocking your potential. Like you mentioned, we did do a podcast on limiting beliefs a couple weeks ago. So definitely check that out. But I think this week, looking at unlocking potential, we want to give you kind of the power, the freedom, and some guidance and like three broad steps on how to unlock that potential and start taking those steps to being the best version of yourself.
Yeah. And with that being said, kind of the first step of unlocking that potential that you have inside of you is by visualizing success. This, some people refer to it as, I guess, manifesting. Um, if you manifest certain things, like they are more likely to happen. But it is, in a way, true. Like if you write down a statement of what you want to achieve, or you create a vision board of like, these are my goals of 2024. And some people like to have that, for example, as their laptop background, and they look at that vision of what they want to achieve every day. And that
Mhm.
just is a reminder of like, this is where I want to go.
Yeah,
And by
and
knowing, sorry.
no, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, like, just by telling yourself what it is you want to achieve, and by knowing that that is what you want to achieve, you are kind of already taking that first step of achieving it.
Mhm. Yeah, and I was just gonna say, like, there obviously, as you mentioned, there's several ways to visualize this and like manifest it, but there's also some kind of like science to this, and you might know, being more psychology than me, but there's like a x number of times that you have to hear or see something, and then you kind of like remember it, or you're more inclined to choose it. So it's kind
Yeah.
of like visualizing your success. So whether you're writing your goals, it's the same thing as goals. You make goals, you visualize what you want to do. So whether it's physical writing them down, or repeating them to yourself, or making that vision board more aesthetic photo type of visualization, you see that every day. You see that multiple times a day. You see that multiple times a week. You're more likely to make decisions, more likely to make kind of changes in your day to day, no matter how small, that will smally, that's not a word. Small, small
It's a
decisions.
word now. We
Yeah,
added to the English dictionary.
whatever. Anything can get added to English, so it doesn't matter. But those small choices, whether it's I'm going to drink water instead of soda, or I'm going to study for 30 minutes and not ignore my homework, or whatever those, or it could be huge. It could be I'm going to move. Um, that is kind of part of that manifestation or that visualization, because you're more likely to do that. So if you have a version of yourself and you see that version of yourself or read that version of yourself, you're more likely to take those steps to be that version of yourself.
And it can be in any shape or form.
Hmm.
If you're just like, I want to be that person who wakes up at 6 in the morning to work out, it's not the version I would want to be, but you know, my mom used to have this quote, and we have a little like metal board in we used to have it in our living room, and she gave that to me when I was swimming, and it said, believe you can, and you're halfway there. So just believing in your ability to do something, to change something, to make that step is already putting you a step ahead. Because if you're going into a situation and you think like, this is gonna suck, it's gonna, it's
Hey,
gonna
you're going to
blow.
the next point. Calm down. We're not to step 2 yet.
I'm sorry. I'll hold my breath.
No, go ahead. Continue your story. We'll just shift into step 2.
Yeah, okay, we're gonna shift this
Bridging.
into our second step. And we're going through this quickly, but it doesn't matter. The second step of this is how Leah phrased it nicely, shifting your language. This also can be done verbally or um, on paper or thinking it, doesn't matter. But if you
Even
telling
body
yourself,
language, even physical body language, how you
yeah,
stand, how you sit, your facial expressions, like language is diverse.
everything. Yeah. And they always tell you, actually, I read my book yesterday, the brain book, and it also mentioned something about like affirming thoughts, where it was like, if you put a negative thought in your brain, it's more likely to think about that constantly. um I don't know how they phrase it exactly. um But this also takes me to the point, I'm sorry, this is very chaotic, but I have a thought and I need to put it out. Like in psychology, they did a research where they put people a pen in their mouth, forced them to smile, and it released endorphins to make them feel more happy just because they were forced to have that smile. Now, it's the same with writing thoughts. Or speaking thoughts, if you tell yourself, I suck at this, I don't like this, I don't want to get out of bed, you're not going to do all of these things. You're going to hate yourself. You're going to not like the view that you have of yourself. But if you change that and it's like, I'm going to get out of bed, you know what? I look pretty good today. You're going to believe that. And now I'm going to give the mic to you.
No, you're fine. No, I think
I was just rambling.
No, I think that's really good. I think you kind of like backtracked a couple blogs or podcasts ago, and we did talk about those limiting beliefs, which is really great because there are times where it's life, you're always going to have negative thoughts. You can't live life without negative thoughts. That's what keeps you going. However, what you do with them matters, and that's kind of where this step 2 comes in, is you want to shift those languages to better align with what you vision, what that potential is for you. You have to sort of like master that constant shift in language. So if you wake up and you're like, I feel awful, I don't want to go to the gym, you should be able, like, accepting that negativity and seeing it as an obstacle, but that shift in language of saying, I may be tired and I may not want to go, but this step is needed for me to reach my potential of what I want for that. So it's
right.
kind of like, it's not, some people might see it as faking confidence or faking whatever, just like faking attitude. But really it's just helping you align your mental attitude, your mental thoughts, and your outward language to amplify your chances of success and potential.
So, if you don't mind, I would like to read a little bit from the book, because I thought that was very much in line with what you were just talking about. Like, this is a chapter and it's called How Thoughts Change Your Brain. And so they mention in the book that at least 70% of our thoughts are of a negative tendency, and that many negative thoughts arise automatically without you consciously demanding those thoughts. They do often not have a link with the situation you are in at the time, but are simply triggered by a minor setback or irritation. Examples of such thoughts are, it's all pointless anyway, this won't work for me, I won't succeed, why should I bother? And these kinds of thoughts may seem harmless, but they definitely are not. Just observe what happens to your mood when you think in this way. Your mood worsens, you are afraid of failure, and see bumps in the road everywhere. This is because your brain is a nervous system and stress system, and it detects a possible threat and then becomes activated and vigilant as a result. If the negative thoughts keep recurring, as during fretting, this can trigger a cycle of overreactivity and overstimulation. So, with that being said, you think maybe that, telling yourself, like, I don't want to get out of bed this morning might be a good thought. And it's like, I deserve this. But that also means you're telling yourself that you deserve less than what you actually deserve, I guess. Because you deserve to be up and moving and do whatever feels good. Because everybody knows if you stay in bed too long, eventually you're going to feel groggy. And you're going to feel like, ugh, I really don't want to get out of bed. Whereas if you tell yourself, okay, let's go, then you're ready to start today. This takes me to another point that I saw somewhere. I'm not sure where I saw it. And they said if you have to make a decision, such as getting out of bed, you shouldn't think about it, but you should just do it. If you're like, I need to get out of bed, just 3, 2, 1, go. That gives your time that gives your brain not enough time to really process that thought. And then before that thought is processed, you're already doing it, which makes
It's a
you
total
it,
Dresel trick.
is it?
Yeah, it was always whenever his alarm went off, he immediately put his feet on the ground so he could not think about saying no or not, you know. He was like, my feet are on the ground, I gotta get up. There was no
Yeah,
hesitation. I mean, I'm sure he had his, days that he was like, oh my God, not
of
again. But
course.
I mean, that was what he would do. Is it was my alarm goes off, my feet go on the ground because now I have a decision. I'm already half up.
Yeah, like why go back when you're already up?
Yeah. So I think it's just that language shift, in all aspects. Language meaning how you talk to yourself, how you communicate with others, your body language, your attitude, anything, but shifting that to one, accepting your negative thoughts as an obstacle, as something that you have to overcome. Jesus, there's something in my pocket. Sorry. So to overcome and align your mental attitude, your mental thoughts, um, your mental language, your physical language with that kind of. I forgot what I was gonna say because I was distracted by my pocket. This is a bad episode. Oh my gosh. Okay.
I got distracted
Anyway.
because my sister, she got a sit stand desk,
Mm.
and it was just moving down, so I was just like,
Anyway,
anyway,
what I was trying to say is just this basic shift in language of whether verbal, mental attitude, body language, all of that. You have to give off this confidence no matter if you're experiencing negative thoughts. If those negative thoughts come, then you have to use them as a stepping stone to reach your potential. You have to overcome that. This kind of mental language or this language in general, this shift will
yeah.
open you to new possibilities, opportunities, solutions, whatever that you're facing. And this will ultimately lead you to unlocking your potential.
So, and even if it doesn't like immediately get you better opportunities or whatnot, like just by you, that kind of comes back to manifesting. Just by you shifting that mindset, shifting that language, shifting your body language. Like if you are standing up straight, chest forward, and just feeling confident, feeling good about yourself, um, that is going to see more ups and more, I'd say, good opportunities rather than shit, another roadblock. Oh God, I gotta do this. When you don't have that language, you are more inclined to be feeling shitty about a lot of things. I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah, it's definitely negative thoughts and negative vibes is pretty addicting. Like once you get them in, if you don't have a good shift in language and how you approach those negative thoughts or whatever has come up, um, you're just gonna get stuck in them, and all you're gonna see is
Right.
negativity. But if you can shift that, and if you can say, yeah, they're negative, I accept that they're negative, but negative doesn't mean bad. It just gives me an opportunity to prove myself, to make more choices that are going to push me in the direction that I need to go. And kind of going off of what you said about being okay with the unknown, that kind of leads us through our third step of
Wait,
embracing.
pause that because I have a little bit to add to our second step. because you said that negative attitudes and negative thoughts can be addicted, but it works the other way around too.
Yes, it does.
Um, those positive vibes and feeling good can be so addictive because it's like, wow, I'm high on life, basically. I'm feeling amazing and I'm gonna continue with feeling good. And of
Mhm.
course, no one's gonna have only good days. But then it's the trick to see those more negative days. It's like, well, it's just a day. Tomorrow it's gonna be another good day.
Mhm.
And just shifting that. And that doesn't mean it's a negative language, it's just an accepting language. It's like, I accept that I'm feeling like this right now, and tomorrow we're going to try again.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
that's what I wanted to add.
okay. So, on to our third step is embracing the unknown. So, I guess to recap, we have kind of that visualization, manifestation, figure out what you want and what you think your potential is. And then two, shift your language to align with that visualization. And then now the third step is embracing the unknown. Because not everything is going to go according to plan, but you must be consistent with making choices, um, and be consistent with what you have already established and have set in motion. Because there's several ways to reach a goal or a dream or a potential. And you have to be open to those different pathways, even if it may not 100% align with the pathway you thought it was going to take.
Yeah,
You just have to acknowledge and accept that something bigger is happening or will happen. And that kind of cements that abundance mindset of there's more than one way to reach something, and you just have to be okay not knowing, but okay with continuously making those steps that align with what you want to happen.
right. And that also requires some openness.
Yeah.
You got to be open to, like, I tended to have this plan in my life, and I was like, if it doesn't follow this plan, I'm gonna fail. Soon enough in my college career, I figured out, well, this plan isn't gonna go probably the way that I'm expecting to happen. So I need to be open to other options and other opportunities. And it's brought me a lot of good things. And you learn from those experiences, and you maybe or you may not find different interests. It's like, well, 3 years ago, I thought this is what I wanted to do and wanted this direction wanted to go into. But right now, I'm feeling different, and that's okay. Just because you liked that 3 years ago doesn't mean you still have to pursue that same dream if that's not really what it is you want to do anymore.
Yeah, and also it's like you can still have the same dream, but you thought you were going to get there in one way, and in
And now you're
reality
getting,
you're taking a little extra twists and turns to get there, but ultimately you're
uh,
still making the choices, taking the steps, to eventually reach whatever you're wanting to reach.
totally. And that is, I think, like something Michael, for example, has a lot of struggles with because he expected his, straight from college into pro volleyball with the best team, and then straight from there to the national team and just play the highest level volleyball of all time. And that didn't happen. It's not going to happen in the way that he planned it to happen. But that doesn't mean he will never reach those goals. It's just not an immediate step from college to that pro level. And he had some difficulty with accepting that, but he finally, like, I think, has found some peace with, okay, I'm not going to be playing at the highest level immediately, but I'm going to take the steps to eventually get there regardless.
Yeah.
And that requires some personal strength and some openness, because if you're not open to that, then you're always going to be stuck in this, like, no, this is the way it's supposed to happen. And then when it doesn't happen that way, you're going to be extremely miserable.
Yeah.
I think.
It's very I don't know if it's so much anymore, but I know when I was a teenager, youngish teenager, it was really big of like, you know what, like you have a goal, and like for example, let's use your career. Like you know what you want to do as a career, and that's what you're going to do. And every step you do, it's going to take you to that goal or to that career.
Yeah.
And you have people have like 5-year plans, 10-year plans, 20-year plans, whatever, that they're going to get a promotion, they're going to get their dream job, and then in 6 months they're going to get a promotion, and in 10 year or in 7 years, 5 years, they're going to be such and such a manager, and in another
Yeah.
5 years they're going to be CEO, whatever. Those are good to an extent, because more times than not it never goes that way.
No.
And if that's what you are defining as your success, and if that's what you're defining as self-worth, then you are going to fall into this negative attitude and these negative thoughts of like, my life is pointless and I failed, and whatever domino train that you start.
Yeah.
Whereas you just have to realize, like, if that's your goal, you're going to take every step and every opportunity to keep working your way up to that. And
Yeah.
yes, it might go twists and turns. Yes, it may not go according to plan. It could go on plan and off a plan, and somehow you end back up on track. You don't know how it's gonna go, but the steps for success, the steps for unlocking your potential is much more important than having this rigid year after year plan, or this rigid um success plan that you think is going to happen.
Yeah. And the older I get, and I'm only 23, so I have still hopefully a lot of years ahead of me. But the older I get, the more I'm like, you know, I'm gonna choose to do something that makes me happy, or that at least I think I will enjoy, and whatever comes across my path that will bring me that joy, I'm gonna take it, because I'm not gonna sit in a spot where I don't feel as happy, or I know that I could be a lot happier in a different spot. Um, and that's the same thing. Like, I was talking to my parents the other day, and we were talking about Michael moving to the Netherlands. And I said that I would be wanting to find an apartment for the both of us to live in. And they were like, well, but don't you want to save some money? Blah, blah, blah. And I said, I'd rather spend the few years that I have on this earth with the person that I love, if I can afford it, than staying at home having to miss him more just to save up a few $100 a month. Like, it's not worth it. Like, I want to be doing those things that I love, and if I can afford it, why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
And I think the older I've gotten, the more I'm like, as long as I'm doing something that makes me happy and I'm enjoying, it really doesn't matter what I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of have that. I never really had an idea of, what I wanted to do. I was like, my one goal I had since I was really little was to swim in college. I did that. Great. I moved around a lot because of that. Um, then it was, everyone told me, "Oh, through college, keep your doors open, keep all your doors open. You don't want to pigeonhole yourself into a career because you may not like it." So what did I do? All through undergrad, I kept my doors open. Then all through grad school, I kept my doors open. I get the question now that I'm approaching graduation. It's like, what are you going to do? There are too many
I don't
doors
know.
open. There's too many doors open. And then there's also, as I have unfortunately found out, whether good or bad, um, there's a lot of closed doors. Just because I'm getting my master's degree in my field, that's might as well just have finished high school. You're not really qualified to do a lot. And so I spent 3 months, if not more, going back and forth on, was this degree worth it? Like, what am I going to do? Am I even going to be happy that I spent the last 7.5 years in school? Or I guess 8.5 really. Or, like, what doors did these really open? Like, I've taken every opportunity, I've done taken every step to quote unquote open as many possibilities as I can. And I feel like, okay, well, all these possibilities I thought I had are all behind these locked doors. And so I really had to evaluate, or I did evaluate and still evaluating, like, what's going to make me happy. Like, is pursuing a career still what I want? And for the past few weeks, I'm like, I'm pretty content doing what I'm doing. Like, I don't have the energy to fight the career field. I had some dreams. I was going to do all these grand things with, military and sport and whatever it might have been. But I'm like, I'm kind of happy doing what I'm doing. And, I had friends that found PhD programs and went on to that. And I was like, nah, not me. There was none out there that I was like, oh, that sounds really cool. So I was like, I'm gonna finish. I'm gonna take, as I always do. I don't have a plan. It's like whatever opportunity comes my way, I'm gonna take. Or at least I'm going to pursue until I'm told we don't want you. And I think that's kind of like a good way
Yeah,
to at least live your younger years, because you will eventually find what you're passionate about, and what you can settle into. But until then, figure out what you love, take opportunities and take chances, and trust yourself, trust your potential, trust that your best will come out, and like you will be successful in whatever is deemed success in your life.
it's very true though. Because like we're especially like forced into making these decisions of what path you want to pursue when you're younger. And I think for a lot of people, they choose a major because it's interesting to them, and then they'll eventually, find a job that fits them. And I've always had an interest in psychology, and I still do. But as of right now, like I'm not sure what it is that I want to do with this degree. Like I've always said that I don't want to treat people. I don't want to be an actual like psychologist. But right now I'm like, oh, I mean, maybe it does sound appealing to me. So I'm also taking, every opportunity that just presents itself. And yesterday, for example, we had a guest lecturer from Italy, and he had created this questionnaire, this tool to assess people for feigning their mental health issues and that they are using in forensic settings. And so I requested a connection on LinkedIn because I was like, this is an interesting guy. And I messaged him thanking him for that lecture. And then he was like, well, we still need people to research the Dutch version of this. So if you're interested, just shoot me an email. So I did today. And he was like, oh, yeah, I'll reach out to the people who are working on this to see if they need extra hands and I'll let you know. And I was like, okay, cool. So, that's just little things that come your way. And you shouldn't be afraid of grasping those opportunities because those types of things will only present themselves every blue moon, I guess, or maybe never again. And if you pass on those opportunities, you are going to question that in 10 years of like, what if I did?
Yeah, I think that's
Um,
really a good point because like um my whole late teenage, I guess since I came to college, so since I was 17 onward, I've lived my life, whether it's personal or academic or professional, of I don't want to look back and have the what if question.
yeah,
And if there's an opportunity that presents itself and I examine that opportunity and I can see myself in 10 years not care that I didn't take that opportunity, then it's probably one I could pass on. But if it's an opportunity that presents itself and I decide to pass on it, but I know in 3, 5, 10, 15, 20, whatever it is, years later, I'm going to go, what if I had taken the opportunity? What would have been different? Then you know that's an opportunity that you need to pursue and you need to see how far it goes.
yeah,
That's a door you have to go through. And if it's one that you're on the fence on, go through it. If it's not a
yeah.
blatant, I don't care, then those are the only ones you can skip on. If it's
And
100% of I will regret this, or I don't know, I might not, I don't know, depends how my life goes, you're going to regret it. You need to follow through.
I agree. And that also um, ties in with, well, if you don't like it, you can always do something else after. Like,
Yeah.
um, if you have an opportunity and you take that, and after a year or a month, you're like, you know what? I really don't like this. Get out. Find something else.
Yeah, you can always,
Um,
the good thing is that one, it's your life. You make your own decisions. Um Sometimes things are set up to kind of hide or camouflage what something really is. So on the outside, there could be a door that looks really nice and you want to go through it, and you go through it and you're like, that is not what it looked like from the outside. Then you can change. You can go
yeah,
down a different path. You can close that door and you can find. But normally in those situations, there is at least one or two positive things that you can take from that.
yeah. Because
So,
whatever experience you go through, you learn from it.
exactly. And there's
And
always something that you can take from a negative situation to help you move forward into something that seems more appealing to you.
yeah. And that's always my like life philosophy of like if you're not happy or if you're not enjoying the situation where you're in and you know that you can get out of it, do it because it'll improve your quality of life. Um,
100%.
yeah, I guess that kind of wraps it all up for like the three steps that we've kind of discussed today. So the three steps that we kind of discussed or touched on today to really unlock that potential that you have within yourself in whatever area of life it might be in is to visualize or manifest that goal or that success that you define for yourself. And you can do that in different ways, like writing it down, talking about it with people, just looking at yourself in the mirror and telling yourself, like, hey, this is what I'm going to do. Then to take it a step further is to actually change that language to kind of convince yourself that you're actually going to do that, but also convince the people around you. Even it shouldn't matter if they're convinced or not. If you present like you're going to do something, then you're more likely to also follow through. And And then last but definitely not least is embracing the unknown. And I think a lot of life is unknown, and it's a good thing that's unknown, because it wouldn't be fun, I guess, if you know every single thing that's going to happen to you in your life. So yeah,
So,
is there anything you want to add?
no, I think you summed it up pretty nice. So, the last thing is that this kind of three-step process is a transformative journey. It takes time, but you kind of just have to really embrace the process because that's going to mean more than anything.
Yeah.
So that being said, if this
Well,
was like what?
oh, I'm sorry. I
No,
was gonna add to whatever you said also. I don't know if you were gonna say this or not, but what I want to say is that all of our podcasts that we kind of discuss is just a little branch of this big trunk. Because it all falls within the same like self-growth kind of perspective. And even overcoming limiting beliefs is kind of on the same spectrum as this, but it's just a little bit different. So we provide a lot of information, but at the same time, it is also recurrent information. Like it comes back all the time because all those steps are kind of similar to each other.
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say the steps are similar. I would just say that they're very interrelated. Like the topics are very
Yeah.
interrelated. Like you need to go through these three steps because no matter what, you're going to experience a limiting belief at some point, and it's good to have
Yeah.
these steps in your back pocket to overcome that. And I really think it's more of a very strong like interconnection to things, and a lot of these topics interrelate with each other, and we provide a lot of steps and information and thoughts on how to navigate these to hopefully like help you.
Yeah.
um
You do word it better than me. Like, I have the same thoughts, they just come out weird.
that's okay, it happens. But so if you did like if you do like our tips and tricks, and if you found this podcast helpful in any way, shape, or form, please feel free to leave a comment, a like, or share and tag us, and just let us know how this helped you, because we really do want to have our content be as helpful as possible. So,
Yeah.
with that, thank you for joining us as we offer a glimpse into the world of true friendship, where even though worlds may seem apart, the connection remains strong.
Yep. Thank you very much and see you next week. Bye.